There's something about apartment living that tricks you into feeling safe. You're surrounded by people, above you, below you, on either side of you, people sleeping, living, existing just feet away through walls and floors and ceilings. You can hear them sometimes, footsteps above you, a television through the wall, a door closing down the hall. You are never truly alone in an apartment building. That is what you tell yourself. That is what I told myself. For 3 years, I lived in the Carver Arms apartment complex in Louisville, Kentucky, Building C, Unit 4F, 4th floor. 12 units per floor, 48 units in my building alone. Hundreds of people in the complex overall. I never felt unsafe there, not once, not for 3 years, until the night my neighbor came inside my apartment. And I want to be very precise about that word, inside. Not knocking on my door at 2 a.m., not standing in the hallway, not shouting through the wall. Inside my apartment, in my living room, while I was asleep. What I am about to tell you is not a ghost story. It is not something I cannot explain. There is a very clear, very human explanation for what happened to me, and that is exactly what makes it so difficult to process even now. Human beings are capable of a specific kind of violation that leaves marks that do not show on the outside. This is my story. I moved into Carver Arms in the summer 3 years before this happened. I was 26, newly single, starting a new job downtown. The apartment was small, 1 bedroom, a living room, a kitchen you could cross in 4 steps, but it was mine, and I loved it. The building was quiet, mostly young professionals, a few older residents who had been there for years. The kind of building where you nod to people in the elevator and occasionally have a brief hallway conversation, but mostly everyone keeps to themselves. My next-door neighbor in 4E was a man named Dennis. I knew Dennis the way you know neighbors in apartment buildings, not really at all, but just enough. He was in his mid-40s. He worked some kind of night shift job. I could hear him leaving very late and coming back in the early morning. He was quiet. He never played loud music. He never had loud parties. In 3 years of living next to him, we had spoken, genuinely spoken, not just nodded, maybe 6 or 7 times. He seemed completely normal. I want to say that clearly because I think when people hear stories like mine, they assume there must have been signs, red flags, something that would have told you if you had been paying attention that this person was not safe. With Dennis, there was nothing. He was a quiet, middle-aged man who paid his rent and worked nights and nodded in the hallway. Nothing about him frightened me, until one Wednesday night in November when I woke up at 3:11 a.m. and Dennis was standing in my living room. I need to back up to explain how it happened, because the how is important. The how is what keeps me awake sometimes, even now. My apartment had 2 locks on the front door, the deadbolt that came with the unit, and a chain lock I had added myself about 6 months after moving in, not because I felt unsafe, just because I had seen a deal on them at the hardware store and thought, why not? On that Wednesday night in November, I had come home late from a work dinner. I was tired. I unlocked the door, went inside, and I locked the deadbolt. I did not put the chain on. I tell you this not because it changes what happened, but because for a long time afterward, I went back to that moment constantly. The chain was 3 feet from where I stood. It would have taken 2 seconds.
I did not put the chain on. I got ready for bed, turned off the lights, and fell asleep. I woke up at 3:11 a.m., not gradually, not the slow surfacing of someone waking naturally. I woke up the way you wake up when something is wrong, fast, complete, fully alert in under a second. I lay in my bed and I did not move, and I listened. And from my living room, from the other side of my bedroom door, which I always slept with open, I heard breathing. Not my breathing, not the building settling, not the refrigerator hum or the HVAC or any of the sounds I knew. Someone was breathing in my living room. I need you to understand what those first 30 seconds were like. Your brain, when it receives information that contradicts your understanding of your safety, does not immediately accept that information. It looks for other explanations first. It runs through the list of things this could be before it will let itself land on the thing it actually is. I went through the list. Television. I had turned it off. I was certain. A dream. I was wide awake. My heart was slamming. My own breathing somehow audible to me in a strange way. No, this was coming from the other room. A hallucination? Some half-sleep state? I had been fully asleep for hours. I was completely awake now. The list ran out. Someone was in my living room. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, slowly, without sitting up. My fingers found it, and I pulled it under the blanket, and I opened it, and I typed 911. I did not hit call yet. I lay there with my thumb over the call button, and I listened. The breathing continued, slow, steady, like someone standing very still. And then I heard something else, a sound I will never forget for as long as I live. My refrigerator opened. The specific sound, the slight suction release, the soft thud of the door, the hum of the cold air, is unmistakable if you have heard your own refrigerator 10,000 times. I knew that sound the way I knew my own voice. Someone had opened my refrigerator. I hit call.
The dispatcher answered on the first ring. I whispered, so quietly I was not sure she could hear me. I said, "Someone is in my apartment. I'm in the bedroom. I can hear them in the kitchen." She said, "Are you safe right now? Are you behind a closed door?" I said, "Yes." My bedroom door was open, but I was in the bed, across the room, in the dark. She said, "I need you to stay on the line. Officers are being dispatched. Do not go into that room. Do not confront them. Stay where you are." I said, "Okay." I could still hear them. The refrigerator had closed. There was movement, footsteps, slow, careful, on my hardwood floor in the living room, and then silence. A long silence. I lay in my bed with the phone pressed to my ear and the dispatcher breathing steadily on the other end, and I waited. The silence stretched. 3 minutes, 4, 5. The dispatcher kept me on the line. She told me units were 2 minutes out. At minute 6, I heard something new. My front door. The specific sound of my front door opening, the slight resistance of the frame, the soft click of the latch, and then closing. They had left. 2 minutes later, I heard knocking on my front door and a voice saying, "Louisville Metro Police." I opened the door. 2 officers. They checked the apartment, the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, every closet. No one there. But my kitchen told a story. On my counter, a plate, my plate, from my cabinet. On it, some leftover pasta from a container in my fridge that I had been planning to eat for lunch the next day. Whoever had been in my apartment had taken food from my refrigerator, put it on my plate, and begun to eat it, standing in my kitchen in the dark while I slept in the next room. The officers asked me if I had any idea who had access to my apartment. I said no one. I had not given a spare key to anyone. The building manager had a master key, standard procedure. They asked about my neighbors. I told them about Dennis in 4E. I told him he worked nights. He came home in the early morning. I told him we barely spoke. One of the officers went next door to 4E and knocked. No answer. They noted it in the report. They told me to change my locks in the morning. They told me to use the chain lock. They told me if anything else happened, to call immediately. They left at 4:30 a.m. I did not sleep again that night. I sat on my couch with every light in the apartment on, and I waited for the sun to come up, and I went over and over the question I could not answer. How had they gotten in? My door had been locked. The deadbolt. I was sure of it. I always locked the deadbolt. It was automatic, like turning off the stove. I had locked it that night. How had someone opened a locked deadbolt from the outside without a key? That question sat in my chest for 11 days. On the 12th day, I got the answer. 11 days after the incident, building management called me. The property manager, a woman named Carol, who I had spoken to maybe 3 times in 3 years, asked if she could come speak to me in person. She came to my apartment that afternoon. She sat across from me at my kitchen table, and she told me what they had found. Building maintenance had been doing routine work in the building, something with the water system, accessing utility spaces. In the utility closet on the 4th floor, they had found something unusual. A key. Not a master key, not a building key. A key that had been made, copied from a building key, and then modified. A locksmith, or someone with knowledge of locksmithing, had used it as a base to create a key that would open multiple units on the 4th floor. It would not open all of them, but it would open some, including mine. Carol did not tell me immediately who they believed had made the key. She was careful with her words, liability, ongoing investigation. But she told me that a current resident with access to certain building systems had been placed on administrative hold pending investigation. I asked her directly, "Is it the man in 4E?" She paused for a long time. Then she said she could not confirm the identity of anyone under investigation. I had my answer. The investigation took 6 weeks. In those 6 weeks, I did not sleep well. I installed a chain lock immediately the morning after the incident. I bought a door alarm, the kind that screams if the door opens. I pushed a chair against the door handle at night. I called my mother every evening. Dennis in 4E was quiet during those 6 weeks. I could still hear him coming and going at his usual hours. I could hear him through the wall, existing next to me, 12 inches of drywall between us, as if nothing had happened. I do not know if he knew that I knew. I do not know if he heard the police that night. I do not know if he stood in his apartment on the other side of our shared wall and listened to me pushing furniture against my door. I try not to think about that. 6 weeks after the night he came inside, Dennis was arrested. The charges were breaking and entering and criminal trespassing. The modified key was found in his apartment, along with evidence that he had entered at least 2 other units in the building on previous occasions. both while the tenants were away, which is perhaps why no one had reported anything before. My incident was different. I had been home. The district attorney's office called me to ask if I wanted to be included in the charges as a victim. I said yes. Dennis was convicted 7 months later. He received 18 months probation and a restraining order. 18 months probation for coming into my home while I slept and eating food from my refrigerator and standing in my kitchen in the dark. 18 months probation. I moved out of Carver Arms 2 months after the arrest. I could not live there anymore. Not next to that apartment, not on that floor, not in a building where someone had found a way into my home and used it. I moved to a house, a small rental house with a yard and no shared walls and no neighbors 12 inches away through drywall. I paid more than I wanted to. I did not care. I installed a deadbolt, a chain lock, a door alarm, a security system, and a camera on the front door. My new landlord thought I was very thorough. He did not know why. I have never told my landlord why. I want to talk about something that I think gets lost when people hear stories like mine. There is the incident itself, what happened, the facts of it. And then there is what the incident does to the time after. Because every night since that November, every single night for more than 2 years, I check the chain lock before I go to bed. I check it, and then I check it again, and sometimes I get up after I have gotten into bed and I check it a third time. Every time I hear an unexpected sound at night, a footstep in the hallway, a door elsewhere in the building, anything, I am awake, fully, immediately, the way I woke up that night. My body has not unlearned what it learned. I do not sleep the way I used to sleep. That easy, unconscious trust in the safety of your closed door and your locked deadbolt, that is gone. I understand now, in a way I did not before, that a locked door is only as safe as the key that opens it, and keys can be copied. I want to tell you something I have thought about many times. When the police told me Dennis had accessed other units in the building, units where tenants had been away, I realized something. He had likely been inside my apartment before. Not that night, before that night, when I was at work, when I was away for a weekend, when I was somewhere that was not home. He had a key. He had presumably made the key at some point before he used it on me. Which means the question is not only when did he come in, the question is how many times. I will never know the answer to that. I moved out of that apartment 18 months ago. I left behind the couch, the kitchen table, the bedroom furniture, things I had bought for that apartment and that I could not make myself move to a new place. I left them there. Some things you cannot bring with you. There are things I want you to know if you live in an apartment. The first thing is the chain lock. Use it every time, every single time you are home, every time you go to bed, every time you are in the shower. The deadbolt alone is not enough, because the deadbolt alone can be defeated by a copied key. The chain cannot be defeated from outside. A chain lock engaged from the inside means that even a key that opens your deadbolt cannot get that door open more than 2 inches. 2 inches is not enough. Use the chain. The second thing is this. Audit who has access to keys that could access your building. Maintenance staff, former tenants, management companies that change hands, master keys that get copied and not recovered. Buildings change owners, management companies turn over, master keys get copied by workers who leave and take the copies with them.
Ask your building management how many master keys exist and who has them. Ask them what their key control policy is. If they cannot answer that question clearly, that is information. The third thing, trust the sound. The breathing I heard in my living room, the thing that woke me, my brain tried to explain it away. It ran through every other possibility before it would accept what it was. Do not let your brain do that. If something sounds wrong in your home, if there is a sound that your home does not make, a sound that does not belong, do not explain it away. Do not tell yourself you are imagining it, or half asleep, or overreacting. Call 911 and let them determine whether you are overreacting. They would rather respond to a false alarm than not respond to a real one. And the fourth thing, the chain. I know I said it already. I'm saying it again. Use the chain. I have not spoken to Dennis since the arrest. I do not know where he is now. His probation ended several months ago. I do not know if he is in Louisville. I do not know if he is in another city, another apartment building, next door to someone who does not know his history. The sex offender registry does not include him. His charges were not those. The apartment tenant screening databases may or may not show his record, depending on what landlords choose to check. He could be in any apartment building in any city. He could be very, very quiet, the way he was always very, very quiet. I think about that sometimes. I think about someone like Dennis existing in apartment buildings all over the country, quiet, unremarkable, nodding in the hallway, coming and going on a night schedule, and the people who live next to them having no way to know. I think about the key, about how simple it was, a master key copied and modified, a locksmith's knowledge or someone who had learned the skill, a key that opened doors while people slept. I think about how long he had that key before he used it on me. I think about the other apartments he had been in, the ones where the tenants were away, what he did there, what he took, if he took anything, what he touched. I think about the fact that his neighbors in those units never knew, the way I never knew, for 3 years. I want to end with something I said to the victim's advocate who was assigned to my case during the trial. She asked me what I wanted people to understand about what had happened to me. I thought about it for a while, and I said, I want people to understand that the violation was not one night. The night he came in while I was home, yes, that was a violation. But the violation that I carry every day is the uncertainty, the not knowing how many times before, the realization that the safety I felt in my apartment for 3 years was at least sometimes false, that there were nights I felt completely safe that I was not. The violation is the retroactive erasure of the safety you thought you had. That is the thing that does not go away. She wrote that down. I hope someone reads it someday and understands. I want to end with something I said to the victim's advocate who was assigned to my case during the trial. She asked me what I wanted people to understand about what had happened to me. I thought about it for a while, and I said, I want people to understand that the violation was not one night. The night he came in while I was home, yes, that was a violation, but the violation that I carry every day is the uncertainty, the not knowing how many times before, the realization that the safety I felt in my apartment for 3 years was at least sometimes false, that there were nights I felt completely safe that I was not. The violation is the retroactive erasure of the safety you thought you had. That is the thing that does not go away. She wrote that down. I hope someone reads it someday and understands.
To anyone listening who lives in an apartment in Louisville, in New York, in Toronto, in Manila, in Kingston, in London, in any city where people live stacked on top of each other, in buildings with shared hallways and master keys and neighbors they barely know, you are not automatically safe because there are people around you. Safety is something you build. It is the chain lock and the door alarm and the security camera and the habit of listening to sounds that do not belong. It is the refusal to explain away the thing your body already knows. I am safe now, in my house, with my chain lock and my camera and my door alarm that would wake the entire street if someone tried to come in. I am safe. But I earned that safety the hardest way. Please do not wait to earn yours. Check your chain lock tonight. And if you live in an apartment and you have never really looked at the key situation in your building, the number of master keys, who has access, how your building handles key control when staff turns over, start asking those questions. Because somewhere in a quiet apartment building in a city near you, there is a Dennis, and he is very, very quiet, and he has learned to open doors that are supposed to be locked. Be safe. Check the chain. And if you ever wake up in the night to a sound that does not belong, do not explain it away. Pick up the phone. Do it right now. Do not wait.